Hi, my name is Becca and this is my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about something that I have been reading a lot about recently on various social media sites such as Tumblr and watching videos on YouTube about, and that is a ship or a relationship between two fictional characters in the new Star Wars trilogy, the sequel trilogy. I have been seeing people have discussions back and forth about this particular relationship from the sequel trilogy. This relationship is between Rey, the protagonist and hero of the new trilogy, and Kylo Ren, the antagonist and the villain of the new trilogy. First of all, I want to get my personal opinion out there. I recognize that there are two common sides in the internet battles around this relationship, specifically the romantic relationship between these two characters, and one of these sides is the Reylo side, the side that ships Rey and Kylo in a romantic or sexual context. And the other side is the anti-Reylos or the anti-Reylos. And those are people such as myself who do not ship Reylo and do not support or think that the relationship should be portrayed on screen and don't agree with the relationship at all. So those are really the two sides right now. There's the people, the two sides in this debate, the people who want to see Rey and Kylo have a romantic and or sexual relationship, and then the people such as myself who disagree with it. Not just we don't ship it, we don't, but we disagree with it. My personal reason for disagreeing with it is one big reason, and that is because I do not think that a relationship in which one character, the antagonist, has tortured the other character and non-consensually breached the other character's mind should be supported in the Star Wars universe and by Disney. The relationship, the on-screen relationship between Rey and Kylo Ren started in The Force Awakens, which is the first movie in the sequel trilogy. We see them interact in the context of a villain and a hero. Rey is kidnapped by Kylo Ren, brought to his base of operations, and essentially tortured mentally. Kylo Ren non-consensually enters her mind in an act of torture, and when she retaliates back and enters his mind briefly, it is only in retaliation for what he has done to her. Immediately after The Force Awakens, there were legions of Star Wars fans who began shipping Rey and Kylo in a romantic sexual context. In a reactionary reaction, if you will, leagues of other Star Wars fans fired back, claiming that Rey wouldn't want to be in a romantic relationship with Kylo. She would rather throw him into a dumpster or kill him on sight. And thus began the Reylo versus anti-Reylo debates, or shipping war, if you will. Now, in The Last Jedi, we see a progression of Rey and Kylo's relationship. We see that there is a force connection established between Rey and Kylo, but it is not consensual for either of them. The force connection is non-consensually, forcefully established between the two of them by Supreme Leader Snoke. It is not naturally born out of any sort of feelings that they have for each other. It is forcefully, unnaturally created. And we see Rey and Kylo interact throughout The Last Jedi more than we ever saw them interact in The Force Awakens. And now I would like to break from the background information into why I am really making this video. I'm making this video because I've been noticing serious mischaracterizations of Rey's character and Kylo's character on both sides of this. I'll start with my side, the anti-Reylo side, and how I believe some people on that side have mischaracterized Rey. They talk about how Rey hates Kylo Ren, how Rey wants to throw Kylo Ren into a dumpster, how she would kill him on sight, how he's trash. Now don't get me wrong, I think the character of Kylo Ren is a terrible person. And I don't mean that in the sense that I hate Adam Driver or I hate Kylo Ren's character. I mean that the character of Kylo Ren in Star Wars is a terrible person, and I hate him as a person. I think Adam Driver, from what I know of him, is a very sweet, lovely individual. He's like a big cinnamon roll. And I think that Kylo Ren is an interesting villain, and I want to see him explored more. I think he's well written and interesting and an intriguing villain in the way he's written, an intriguing character. However, as a person, he's committed terrible acts like torture and being someone who's in a position of power in the First Order, which is a terrible, murderous organization. So as a person, no. As a character, interesting. As an actor, why are we even dragging the actors into this? Let's please stop doing that. As far as the anti-Reylo, back to what I was saying about the anti-Reylo characterization of Rey. I think that in The Last Jedi, Rey's feelings toward Kylo were explored a little more, and I in some ways agree with the Reylo characterization and Reylo interpretation of Rey's character. I think they're a little bit more accurate in interpreting Rey's character more than anti-Reylos are, although I personally agree with the anti-Reylo stance because I don't think Disney should be condoning a relationship where the first interaction between the two characters was a torture scene. I don't think Disney or Star Wars should condone that. That's why I'm anti-Reylo, but I don't think Rey hates Kylo Ren. I think Reylo is disappointed. I think Rey is disappointed in Kylo Ren. I think she pities him. I think it hurts her to see the son/nephew of her father figures turn to the dark side and perform evil deeds like torture. I think that is how Rey feels about Kylo. It's not hate, it's not love, it's pity, disappointment, hurt, confusion, misunderstanding. That's how I think Rey feels about Kylo, and that tends to fall in more with what I've seen popular Reylo spokespeople espouse their beliefs about Rey's characterization, specifically a YouTuber known as Rach for the Stars, or Rachy. I've been watching a lot of her videos lately, and I do agree with a lot of what she has said from what I've seen about her interpretation of Rey and how Rey feels about Kylo. I do think that Rey has strong feelings toward Kylo. I just don't necessarily think they're romantic in any way, shape, or form. I think Rey feels bad for Kylo. I really do. And that's what makes her, and what will make her, such a great Jedi, because she does not hate him. She is not angry at him. She's disappointed and hurt and sad and confused, and she feels pity for him. So in that respect, I think my interpretation of Rey's characterization falls more in line with what I've heard some Reylo people say, such as Rach. However, Kylo's characterization, I think popular Reylos such as Rach and other Reylo people who share her opinion on Kylo's characterization are completely wrong. I've watched Rach's videos, and if a lot of other Reylos share her opinions, their interpretation of Kylo's character and his characterization is completely wrong. Like I said, I agree with them on aspects of Rey's characterization, like how she feels almost sympathetic toward Kylo. I disagree on that it's romantic, but I do understand where a lot of them are coming from when they say that Rey sympathizes with Kylo. But I completely disagree on the way that they characterize Kylo, and I don't think anti-Reylos are pointing this out enough. They're focusing too much on Rey and how Rey would feel about Kylo than how, honestly, Kylo is shown to feel about Rey. The way that Kylo feels about Rey isn't really as clear as people who ship Reylo would have you believe. Honestly, the characterization that Kylo finds Rey to be an important person to him, and that Kylo finds it in himself to care about Rey, and that Rey is important to Kylo, all of that I've heard from Rach, no, not at all. Whereas Rey is clearly disappointed and confused and all these other strong emotions about Kylo, Kylo doesn't appear to feel very much of anything about Rey. Obviously, we see in The Last Jedi that he makes an offer to her, an offer to work together, an offer to be colleagues, and she turns him down. Kylo here doesn't really give any indication that he has any personal, romantic, any sort of strong feeling about Rey as a person, about Rey personally. To be honest, it doesn't seem like they know each other very well at all. Especially Kylo doesn't know very much about Rey. Beyond the Force connection, they haven't interacted very much beyond fighting in the torture scene. They haven't interacted person to person very much at all. Kylo clearly does value Rey. That's undeniable. He values her, but not on a personal level. There's no indication that he values her on a personal level or as a person. He clearly sees potential in her and value in her as a very powerful Force sensitive, and I'm sure he would be ecstatic to have her on his side. But as a person, on a personal, interpersonal relationship level, there's nothing there. He wants her to join him, not because he loves her, not because he cares about her, not because he sees her as important as a person, but because he cares about her power. He sees her abilities as important. But that's just my take. I did not see anything in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi that even remotely suggested to me that Kylo has any sort of interpersonal, personal feelings for Rey beyond she's a powerful Force sensitive, I could use her on my side, it'd be great if she joined me in taking over the universe together, but not like, I love this girl. Like, there's nothing there. There was nothing built up there that was like, clearly there's a romantic connection. Nothing. The Force connection was created by Snoke. It is unnatural. Their interactions are more of attempting to understand each other than romantically bonding. And there's nothing there beyond a very interesting and complex hero-villain relationship. Like many a hero, Rey has found it in her to pity her villain. And Kylo, like many a villain, wishes the powerful hero would turn to his side. It's really nothing beyond that. And we've seen those types of stories a million times before. Think of things that you've read, watched, seen, heard about, where the hero was incredibly powerful, and the villain wanted to get the hero to his side to be even more powerful in his greedy power grab. Think of things you've watched, seen, heard, where the hero found it within herself to sympathize or feel pity for her villain, the villain of the story. It's not that far-fetched to believe that, yeah, that's all the relationship between Rey and Kylo is. And it's an interesting dynamic, and I love it, and I appreciate it. I appreciate that Rey has it within herself to sympathize with this villain. And I love that Kylo is trying to get Rey to his side. I think that's such an interesting dynamic. You have Rey, pitying Kylo and wanting him to turn light for the sake of her father figures and for the sake of the universe. Where you have Kylo trying to turn Rey dark for his own greedy, power-hungry reasons. And I think that that's a really interesting villain-hero dynamic, and I like it, where they're both trying to turn the other while also, defending the things that they believe in, and Kylo trying to take over the universe, Rey trying to save the universe. Like, I like that dynamic as a hero-villain dynamic, and I don't think anti-Reylo people appreciate that dynamic enough. They're too concerned with hating on Kylo, not only as a person, but as a character, and hating on Adam Driver, and too concerned with glorifying Rey. And Reylos are obviously way too up their own butts with this whole Reylo thing, where they pull it literally out of nowhere. Like, there is no indication that Rey and Kylo have any romantic feelings for each other. I could understand you making a case that Rey might have feelings for Kylo, but it's unlikely considering that he tortured her. The most I think she can feel for him is that pity and sympathy and disappointment. And you'd have an even harder time making the argument that Kylo has feelings for Rey, because there's absolutely no indication that he does. He finds her important and valuable as a powerful Force sensitive and as a potential ally and colleague. There's no indication that he has any personal feelings for her whatsoever. All he knows about her is what he's seen in her mind. He's never been with her, interacted with her. There's nothing there. Interpretation, my little rant about Rey and Kylo, and how each side, I think, mischaracterizes one of them a little bit. I think the anti-Reylos mischaracterize Rey a little bit by saying she just blindly hates Kylo. I don't think that's true. And the Reylos mischaracterize Kylo a lot by projecting romantic feelings onto him where there are none. There's no indication he sees Rey as anything more than a valuable potential ally. There's just nothing there. That's all I have to say on the matter. And in the comments, if you find this video and you want to add your 2 cents, comment below. And maybe I'll make a response video to the comments, because I'm sure I might have missed something in my analysis. You know, add your opinion. I'll debunk it or say, you know, you made a good point, that I hadn't considered that. But from where I stand now, Rey and Kylo as a relationship would not work and should not work, because first of all, Disney and Star Wars should not be promoting a romantic relationship that started with a torture scene. Because imagine all the little girls who looked up to Rey seeing her in a relationship, in a romantic relationship with a man who tortured her. That's not a good message to send to little girls or little children in general. That you can end up falling in love with the guy who tortured you. I don't care what context the torture was in. I don't care if it was wartime. He tortured her. He broke into her mind. Without her consent, he invaded her mind. I don't think that's a message Disney or Star Wars should be promoting. And second of all, I think a Rey and Kylo relationship would be a gross mischaracterization of their characters as they have been established in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. The only concrete emotions we have seen Rey display toward Kylo are those of disappointment, pity, possibly sympathy, confusion, and hurt. That the son/nephew of both of her father figures, Han and Luke, became evil and turned to the dark side. Obviously, that would hurt her. 2 people she cares about had their son/nephew turn to the dark side. Obviously, that would deeply affect her, and she would be disappointed and sympathetic and hurt by the fact that the relative of 2 people she looks up to greatly and views as father figures would turn to the dark side like that. But that's all really we can gather from the movies about how Rey feels about Kylo. Is that disappointment, pity, sympathy. And as far as how Kylo feels about Rey, there's absolutely nothing beyond him viewing her as an important Force sensitive and a potential valuable ally. That's it. There is no romantic subtext. The hand-touching scene, wow, I didn't know that it was romantic for me to touch someone's hand, wow. That was merely a display of the emotions that are going on between them. How Rey feels about Kylo, the disappointment, the hurt, the pity, that can be strong. And that's why Rey and Kylo's scenes come off as so strong, is because of those strong, non-romantic emotions. And yeah, Kylo, only indication is that he sees Rey as a potential powerful ally. There's no indication that he values her beyond that. I do think he does obviously value her, because he implies it and he says so, that he values her, but I don't think it's on a personal level. I think it's on a power level. And yeah, that's it. Basically, to concisely sum up this video, I don't think Reylo should be a thing for 2 major reasons. Disney and Star Wars should not promote a relationship that started so violently. 2, having them end up together would be a gross mischaracterization of what we've seen so far between them. The romance would come out of absolutely nowhere. And the final point that I made in this video was that I think the Star Wars fandom, both sides of this Reylo anti-Reylo argument, are mischaracterizing these two characters in some respect, especially the gross mischaracterization of Kylo Ren as having romantic feelings for Rey, where there's absolutely no basis for that. Absolutely none. It is a gross mischaracterization of a very interesting villain. That he would have romantic feelings for Rey is completely unfounded, and a character's words and actions value much more than how you think a certain scene is framed. And yeah, that's it. If you disagree violently, if you agree, put it down in the comments. Maybe I'll do a comment reaction video if this video gets some response. Yeah, I'm also going to link down to Rach for the Stars YouTube channel, because a lot of the inspiration for making this video was because how I felt she was severely mischaracterizing Kylo Ren, which affected me personally because I think I haven't seen anyone else who's anti-Reylo call out mischaracterizations of Kylo, only of Rey. And yeah, she is a lot of the inspiration for why I made this video, because I think she mischaracterizes Kylo, and I think Kylo's a very interesting character who I don't appreciate seeing mischaracterized, you know, especially considering the status of his character as like a bad person but a good character. I don't think it's an okay thing to mischaracterize him like that. Yeah, that's gonna end the video.